What's up everyone, Speedy here. In this 1v1 video, we're going to be doing 2 live games as well as replay review of one of our community members. So let's get right into it. Here we are in game number 1. Pretty tough for him to reach. I don't think he's going to get there. Nice. Yeah. So he seems to have like gone for like a delay kickoff. I don't think he's speed flipped there. It's hard to tell. Let's see how this one goes. Let's be aggressive here. Let's get the bump. Oh. That's really unfortunate. Fucking thumb slipped as I'm getting ready to do the flip and literally misflip. That's so sad. That's so sad. Yeah, I need to see how I can go about this differently, because once I lost control, yeah, that's why I got myself backwards. I need to try to be better about that. Bring that to a controllable position. It's a good save. Trip him up as much as you can. Grab that. Okay, I guess he had a whole 500 boost in the tank there. Tons of boost in reserve, apparently. Get the bump back on and up. Good save. Good counterplay. Good job, dude. Try something different. Okay, that's not what I meant by try something different, but you know what? That works. That was a play of all time. Dude, that was really good momentum through the play there. Well done. Barely supersonic, if at all. Good speed here. Nice try, dude. Take all these boosts. He's not going to have anything to work with. I mean, I don't know what else to say, guys. That's as basic as it gets. He's just challenging with a bad position without really recognizing the momentum of the play. Very straightforward save. Still have plenty of boost, so I'm not really worried. Actually fucks that up in a way that works. Nice try. That's dumb. It was a really bad challenge. Thought I was gonna get better cut out of it, or at least like a pinch. Not the best recovery. I mean, it works. I could have recovered a little bit better, though. This recovery here, not ideal. I didn't mean to put there. I was trying to wave dash, but all good. I should have been watching for that. Still okay here. Good save. GG. Okay, here we are in game number 2. Take our time. And right over your head. When you have an opponent that just doesn't go, change the direction a lot and force him to commit. You will likely get a pretty favorable challenge. Good hit. Just be careful about this touch here. Yeah, better I didn't flip there. If I flipped, I would have probably put too much power, but too much power without the directionality I wanted. So that works. This is something that Flakes very much explicitly teaches. When you're getting ready to do these major plays like this, recognize that you have the possession and you have the momentum with the play. You decide when you can go. When the opponent's not sure when you're going to go, that's when you're most dangerous. It's going to bounce up, so I can't really chow this right away. Nice. Really good start. Just good offensive pressure. Really clean start. Opponent's not really challenging correctly. Good defense there. Uses a boost, but better than letting the goal go in. Very obvious challenge. I'm gonna backboard it. Top ins. Nice. Good control play. A little too much cut there. Yeah. I had to be more careful there. Like, I just put too much cut there in front of him and then just lost my momentum in front, which made it pretty straightforward for him to bump. I take this boost pretty comfortably. There we go. Nice. Good delay there. I wanted to see if he was going to bite, and he didn't bite for a while, so it's just kind of like taking your time and then getting an appropriate touch. Thank you for saving it. And bro is trolling. Okay. This game's pretty much over then. I mean, you could try to get the weird bump plays on me, but I can do the same thing back to you, so. And by the way, Brazil. Alright. I mean, the bumps aren't going to do anything. Wait a minute. And GG. A little one-sided, but hopefully good lessons for you guys to see here, especially with ground play early on. Okay, so here we are in the replay review portion of the video. This is one of our subscribers here in the community by the name of Lola. And one of the very higher skilled players in the community here. And this is going to be an interesting one. I'm excited for this. Nice. Very, very clean. I do like that. Definitely good here. If you're in a situation like this as a player, remember that you do have options. So I could see that the position was good here for potential like dribble play, but also recognize like if you're trying to go for an air dribble bump, you want to be able to kind of get your plane of movement a little bit more in line with the ball. You're a little bit to the side here. I don't know if that's what you're going for initially, but you see how like as the opponent's coming up here, you pop the ball to the left here. This is appropriate. This is totally good play. But if you're looking for other options on the play and like wanting to consider, like say if this opponent is able to come across and uses the momentum to push across to the full left here, they would likely be able to get this. The reason they didn't get this is because they flipped low and they lost their momentum. But if they actually didn't flip at all and just like literally just came off of here full speed, they could technically come across there. It says if the opponent does that, the better defended way, an air dribble bump would be better here. So just consider that as an option if you see your opponent's defending a little bit better. You did a really good job though. This is a good play. Nice. I like that pressure. It's a good save. Get that boost in the corner. That's good pressure. I would say because it relegates possession though, the good pressure goes into a bad possession play. What you would want to do is here, I would say like a good safe option is control touch. Instead of like going for the boom here, your opponent's recognizing the boom play, and the reason you can tell is because the recovery is kind of poor coming off of the actual like first save. They're just getting back into the play and they're trying to like get themselves like kind of unrattled. What you want to do is recognize they're going to likely be low boost. He was obviously in this case, this is 12 boost, so about 12 boost. Let's see here. Yeah, literally 12 boost. So you have plenty of opportunity to get control of the play, get a control touch, and then go for a bump. Your opponent here, if you get a control touch here, and then get above the ball, and then boom him out of the way, you just have solid momentum. The ball is just going to roll in net, and you'll have a free goal. The reason why a backboard read here isn't really the play, obviously the result is a possession change, or a possession loss rather. The reason why it doesn't necessarily work is because in these higher ranks, typically opponents who are going to be expecting it. And the second part of it is that because the opponent was recovering in a low boost play, they don't have to boost to try to play this aerially and try to early chow you. So they're trying to be patient here, and they're going to recognize that the likely play here, based off the way you're cutting, because they can see you're cutting really wide here. Watch the trail here. You see how wide this arc is? It just cuts like that. An opponent that's watching for your movement is going to notice that very briefly in just the passing moment of the play, and they're going to recognize that your play is going to boom way to the left, or in his case, like way to the right. So it's not going to be on direct target, and your play here is you're trying to go for a backboard read into that shot attempt. Because he's reading that, he's going to be patient here, and then he gets the save here. As you can see, he now gets a good play to work with, and it becomes pretty dangerous. Here, he gets possession here. It's a decent shot. I don't mind that patience there, actually. I think, like, honestly, a lot of people would go there. This is a mistake that I would see a lot of people make, is they would actually, right here, they would try to full go here. The reason I say it's a full mistake, like it's a mistake for you as the attacking player to go, is because your opponent's typically going to be aggressive to try to actually like counterplay here and get this touch. You get full boost, and now you have free play. I would take more time. You kind of rush the touch here, and now it just becomes like kind of like almost like a passing boomer ball situation. You didn't have to rush here. What you could do here is instead, so a little bit below this, jump up, just single jump, and then pop back down as a fake jump. The reason you want to do that is just to assert the play, so you can make sure the opponent knows, hey, I'm in control of this play. I'm not going to let you have the free space, because the opponent, as you're watching, kind of like that meme of like William Dafoe staring up, kind of freaking out. If you're just watching the ball here and paying attention to that, the opponent can have plays that they can do. So by jumping and single jumping here shows that you're in control of the play, keeps the opponent back. The opponent's not going to necessarily challenge that right away, knowing that they don't really have a play to work with. And by faking it and going back down, you can catch the ball. Now, once you catch the ball, you have a much more deadly play. Again, in these types of ranks, it's typically like power shots or like off-axis shots, like that backboard play there, can work, but control touches into bumps are really effective. Yes, obviously it can be cringe if you just, that's your whole style, obviously, but incorporate them appropriately, and you can use that as a tool. They're a tool. It's like any other mechanic in the game. It's a tool, but you need to learn how to use them in the right and correct situations. That's where they can be really optimal. Because here, like, you end up getting a touch, you lose possession. Opponent now puts the play into an awkward space. You see how, like, you're awkward here? Now you're below the ball and you don't have possession. And you're also in a play where if the opponent gets a better boom, that's in the net. Like, if they hit that any stronger and a little more to the right, you wouldn't have been able to save that. That's a good bump. That's a good bump play. Definitely good bump play. Nice, good save. 0 boost, so having to be patient. That's a bit dangerous. That's a dangerous play here. I like this play here. That boost isn't there. It's just it's a replay bug, so don't mind that. But I do mind the attempted control touch that pops. You want to try to, if you're going to control touch, control it to open space. What you want to avoid is recognize the zone of control. So like in higher level Rocket League, something that becomes more relevant and more important is something called zoning and awareness of like where you are. This opponent here, think of like a circle around them, right? In this area, they're going to be able to actually interact with the ball, interact with you, interact with the play in this space. But if you control touch and just bring it to the right, bring it to this middle right area, you have a potential play here. Yes, they're going to likely get this boost, but this is more of a play where at least you have a better opportunity, a better chance at making this play safer. And you could even go for that. I pointed to it as if you can see it, but you could go for this pad here and then potentially place for 50-50. If the opponent gets greedy, goes for that pad, you can still be careful here. Again, it's not super dangerous. That'll also give time for this boost to spawn. So if there's an opportunity where, say, there's a breakaway and the ball pops out into this space, go back, grab boost, or if you want to be a little bit more tactical to play, grab some pads. But popping it, like trying to do control touch and it pops left, that's not where you want to. I'm sure you probably weren't necessarily intending on popping it to the left. Like you wanted to cut, maybe, potentially that's an idea. But I would say the safer play would be into open space. You see how it changes possession play, and it makes the play really dangerous. You're able to escape the play. The opponent doesn't really do anything dangerous with the play outside of the initial touch. I don't mind the attempt there. I like the idea of the wall to air dribble cross map, but you have to be really confident with it. And the reason I say that is because, like, positionally speaking, you want to be really careful about this much separation. And so the separation I'm talking about is in terms of this horizontal separation here. Look how much distance there is here and the momentum of the ball. You're kind of coming across here. So you're coming across here, and at this point your momentum's already going to take you off axis in relation to the goal. So what you want to do is you want to try to be like a little bit, I'm going to do this at 50% speed, so it's a little bit slower here. So like coming up here, let's do quarter speed a little bit better. As you're coming up here, you're just a tiny bit too high on the ball here. So by popping this in this position, what's happening is you're popping it out. And so popping it out's not a bad thing, but there is a balance point of popping it out and popping it away. Popping it out would be more appropriate if you were able to get a touch that brings it over this axis. So instead of like that way, you want to be a little bit this way so you can control it. If you had this much separation, your play, now your movement is like this. It's not likely you're going to be able to get a good play afterwards. You see how, like, yeah, you can get a control touch, but unless you get a flip reset, or you can do like a pop reset on this side of the ball and pop it over this way, it's not a really high percentage air dribble play, and you're just not going to be able to get the control to be able to actually like push it through the way you want. Good defense by the opponent. Small opportunity you could have shot there. Really, really small opportunity. So I'm going to show this right here. So right here. Flip and just bang that ball. Just hit that, like get a little bit like higher up in relation to the ball. So say the ball's here and you're kind of like coming off the wall here. You want to be a little bit higher. The reason you want to be a little higher is so you can just get that horizontal trajectory and just bang that ball, and that's going to boom that ball forward. The opponent is, look at where the opponent is. Look at the direction they're facing. Completely away from the goal. You have a completely open shot in that situation, and trying to go for the control and fake play there is a bit dangerous because of what happens there. The opponent's expecting the play, and as soon as they see you separate from it and you can't do anything with it, they're going to challenge you. So this is where it can be really dangerous in this play, because of the possession play. I think it leads to a goal, yeah. And I understand the reasoning. It's just it is dangerous to try to go for control here. it's better off, like you're better off to go for the early boom play and just do a slight flip cancel. So try to, like, as you get to the ball, do a speed flip. Do like a flip cancel with the speed flip, like a normal speed flip movement. And that's going to give you that rotation that goes like this. And the ball is just going to get speared, and that's going to provide that forward movement. All right, let's watch that back. It's a bit late to be jumping there, because of like how late you jumped. Watch how late you are to the jump here. So it's not always a bad thing. Like, you see how your opponent jumps at the midway point between this line and this line, and you're jumping at this line. That can be okay. Like, there's nothing necessarily incorrect about like jumping this late. But the problem is the opponent is there. If they are jumping earlier than you, they're going to be, say the ball's here, they're going to be a little bit like here, and say like from this position, you're going to be down here. And so when you try to jump, that ball is going to pop over, and that's going to push it up. So watch, you see how it popped over you and out in the back? That's why the 50-50 went the way it did. It's a decent rotation here. That's an unfortunate 50. Let's watch that back one more time. I understand the challenge there. This is a tricky challenge because of like the position, but you want to be careful. Like that challenge is definitely leaves a little bit to be desired. The reason is because the opponent is in a position that's more dangerous. I like the boost grab here, but you see how like that control touch immediately brings it to where their possession play is going to happen. Like, think about their momentum, where they're moving. They're moving towards where you're actively trying to get a control touch. That gives them a free touch. That gives them a free challenge, rather. That's where the danger in this play is. That's what starts this sequence that causes the goal, is this specific touch. Obviously, look, kickoffs happen. It is what it is. It's difficult to get the perfect, like, the setup for kickoff, or a perfect setup or a position for the kickoff. However, this is a play that you can control much differently. And the way you do that is, as you kind of set up into this play, if you slow down a little bit, instead of come up this high, you see how like high you are relative to the ball? Your opponent is in a space where they see that you're trying to like come around and then cut. So like you're coming down like this and you want to come up like that, right? That's the natural movement of like your play after that sequence. What you want to do is recognize that the opponent's natural movement is specifically countering the way you're playing that. You want to recognize that earlier and not try to get that control touch down. What you can do is, instead of coming up that high on the wall, try to like just get a soft flip touch to the corner. It's hard to do, but it's a little bit higher percentage than what becomes this play here. And that's because this play immediately loses you possession, gives the opponent this whole sequence here. And now also you ended up getting, unfortunately, like a pretty tricky 50-50. You ended up 50-50 on the far right of the ball, so it just squeezed the ball a little to the left. That's why it came across that way. It's nothing you necessarily did wrong. I would say like a safer way to go about it is trying to like recognize that the opponent does not have a lot of a scoreable angle here. Like watch from their perspective, right? Watch. So look how little angle there is for them to shoot from. You want to try to single jump 50 here. Single jump 50 here so you can pop. And then you want to use your flip as a secondary tool. So if your opponent tries to flip and then pop it, you can now get that final touch. You can get the last word of the play. That's where this would allow you just to have a tiny little bit of better chance at being able to save it. Is just single jump 50. That's where you can really make your defensive 50s more lethal and start providing yourself counterplay by using that flip as a secondary tool to the play, not just flipping through the play, which opens up the play and obviously gives the angle for the opponent to actually score. And you see, like from this position now, they have, of course, an open net. Nice, I don't mind that. Good bump. I like that. That's a good aggressive, like forward pushing play. Consider another option. It's a bit tricky because there's just a lack of boost here. So as you win this kickoff, consider learning. I know this is more advanced, but you're in a positional, like you're ranked now, Loa, where this is something I would recommend you start actually like practicing. Practice your zap dashes, because if you zap dash here, pop like that, and then zap dash, pop shot right there, boom, easy shot, and the opponent would have way less chance to be able to get there. They're zero boost too. Remember, they're low boost, but you don't have to be low boost and low momentum. See, that's the thing about zap dashes and wave dashes in general. These recovery mechanics at the higher ranks become really excellent tools as low boost workaround plays, because these mechanics allow you to work around having low boost by building high momentum really fast. Wall dashes, same type of thing. Curve dashes, all these types of plays are really effective in this play. This is an example where a zap dash here, just a pop like this, boom, go. And that's, you see how like instantly, and then you just single jump into it. Afterwards, you get zap dash and then single jump, so you get a slight pop, so you get that forward movement as well, but you don't flip. Flipping, you may accidentally, like with your movement, you may lose control and you actually might get too soft of a touch just based off your timing if you're not used to it. But I would say here a zap dash was most appropriate. If you want it to be like a direct shot that's highest percentage and no chance that the opponent's really going to get it, I like the bump play, but if the opponent positioned differently, so let's watch from the opponent's perspective and I'll show you what I mean. So here, they flip here, and they're focused on ball, but if instead of focusing on ball, they didn't miss these pads as early as they did, because once they get this pad here, let's go back a little bit more, because I think the pad glitch was taking effect. If they actually like were a little bit wider to this play, so from here, if they're a little bit wider here and got that boost, they could pop it to the corner, and you would be zero boost, likely potentially flipping through the play. And if you were to try to bump him, he would potentially get over you, and that would be his counterplay. There's the potential for counterplay in that situation. That's why the zap dash play just becomes a little bit better, because it's a much higher percentage play. Not that this isn't a bad play, it's just if you want to consider like if you're going against somebody that's really high level that will factor in their rotations that extra little bit, they're not going to be as bumpable once play. And if they are, it's going to be pretty tricky to get the perfect movement to lead to the bump play. That's a pretty tricky play. It's tough. I've been there. I think we've all been there. This is a really, really tough defensive play to be forced into. You actually were a little bit too much to the left here on the kickoff. So watch this kickoff here and go quarter speed. Watch your momentum. So you see how their momentum, watch where the ball is. You see where the ball is going to be getting contacted, like by you here. And watch where your opponent is. Much more centered. That's not bad. They could actually even still do this better. They could have actually gotten a slightly better play. It's still favorable for them, but even though you win the kickoff, you don't win the possession because of the way the play progressed here was awkward, and you ended up using all your boost in order to try to like cover for like a potential play here. But the opponent really the opponent could have played that a little bit better. If they went for a bump on you there, that actually would have really like nice, good boost grab. I like that. That's such an unfortunate bounce. I like this. I like the bump there. Unfortunate, like because of the bump there, unfortunately, like kind of lost control there. That can happen. You wanna try to like maintain momentum with the play if you can, and just potentially hold power slide. That can be a bit tricky in that position. Mechanical error. All good. Yeah, totally understand. I understand the reason you likely went for this boom here, but you're giving the opponent a whole bunch of opportunities to just read the bounce with like 35 boost. So they probably got about 30 boost here. They've got 23. Okay, so less, but they have enough to be able to make a play here. So it's still dangerous. I like that control touch. I would have probably stayed grounded here. Honestly, grounded here would have been better. The reason I say staying grounded, even though like airplay is good, but this position, your momentum is way off to the right here. Look how much momentum you have to the right here. This isn't an angle unless you get absolutely like fucking peak reset and then to a very hard double tap top ins on the right side there. It's really hard to do. I would say honestly, ideally, this is good here. Grab that boost. I like this control touch. But again, like I mentioned earlier in that one play where you're on this mid boost here, single jump fake. Single jump fake chow. And keep yourself semi-pointed down a little bit. Because if you start doing this multiple times, like more than twice, the opponent eventually is going to start recognizing it. But if your opponent is this far from the play, you have space to do that. Remember, you have a neutral jump afterwards. So you have time to be able to adjust your movement and momentum to this situation. And when you have this much space, I'm going to show also in slow speed here. I like this control touch. You get a good boost. But the problem is you cut early and you're going for an air dribble play that the momentum of this play is very off axis to where the goal line is. And it's just not really a very dangerous play offensively. From the opponent's perspective, they're in a position where they just simply have to shadow here, knowing that it's going to keep pushing this way, and they just have to make sure that it doesn't go top in. So that's the only thing they have to do. So they cover for it, and they effect it. If they didn't fuck up that recovery, if they didn't fuck up the recovery at the end here, that's an open net to your shot, or to your goal here, that you cannot do anything to save. That's just a straight shot, boom, that's in, that's it. That's why I say staying grounded here, going for a fake play here just to gauge like what the opponent's going to do. What you're trying to do is essentially, it's like I would call something called like you're essentially probing for mistakes. You're forcing these little micro movements from the opponent to see if they bite, and you're trying to see if they're going to like, another way to put it is like you're fishing, right? You're making these little movements to kind of like just see if you can try to fish a mistake out of the opponent, and then you get ready to reel. That's when you make your opportunities happen. That's how you play a really suffocating play style offensively, is you recognize the difference between control touches and the need for control touches and aerial touches. And aerial touches can be control touches too, but on the ground, control touches are really absolutely amazing in these situations because you can force the ball closer in a way that you have control of, and it's high percentage. I would say in this play though, the reason why it went the way it did is primarily because of the decision to go for the air play. The ground to air play is not necessarily a bad thing, but again, I would recommend better to control and get the ground play going. Just that really is where the play becomes dangerous. This whole play, if the opponent recovered better, you weren't going to save that, unfortunately. That would have just been a straight shot in net. And that's hard, especially in these ranks. Is like it's difficult to really make that instant adjustment. But that's where the position could be really dangerous. Nice. I like that. Nice. Okay, that's unfortunate at the end there, but I like the way you progressed with this play. I like this. Unfortunately, the bump didn't really work out. If you got like a slightly better contact with the bump play, I think, like honestly here, like I like the S-chow here. Where's the S-chow? Go here. It's really unfortunate for you that the opponent was able to flip their momentum. If you actually like flipped into them and just banged them out of the way, it likely would have actually spun them out and they would have likely gone to the corner. And then as long as you like flip in a way that allows you to recover fast, you could actually have a free shot. It's still, this whole play sequence is really difficult and it's not crazy high percentage because of just the nature of where the opponent is. But because the bump didn't land the way you would have like ideally wanted, it just becomes like a free touch for the opponent and the opponent is able to recover. I like that challenge. Nice. Grab that boost. Nice. I like that. Good force on the boom. That's a bit tricky because the way you challenge here is where the opponent is in a place where the opponent is able to recover for the play. What I mean by that is as you come up and get this boost, You see how the opponent now has momentum to play and they're trying to force a boom touch across the ball here. That can work, but you want to be in a position where you're shadowing and recognizing that worst case scenario, you can potentially lose this 50-50 and be in like a non-neutral position. Like, look at where your momentum is. You're going towards their goal side. If they got a slightly better 50, like again, for them, best case scenario, that 50 would have gone closer towards your net, and that would have been a lot harder for you to kind of like really position towards. I like this though. I like the way you kind of just give yourself time. I like this. Good patience. I would say a slight adjustment here. Early jump to the wall and keep your momentum in that direction right here. So early jump here, boom like this, and then you can go for a wall play here. You're full boost, you have the boost, but this is how you would get momentum with it. You early jump and then you play off the bounce. So you go early jump, pop like that, and then you bring the ball to a ground or to a wall to air dribble. You see how like deadly that little split-second decision to make that like pre-jump play could be. That's an example of like a really what I would call an explosive like air play, because it's movement that's fast enough to where you're forcing boom boom like that. You're making the plays that make it hard for the opponent to be able to just get back into a flow, because they're immediately having to now recognize, oh shit, this guy's immediately pushing a ground to air, or a wall to air dribble on me. I have to be ready to defend that. And now you have options. You can go for the wall to air dribble, you can go for bump play, you can go for flip resets, depending on like where the opponent is. If the opponent's positioning in a weird way relative to where their goal line is, you can push the ball with a reset. Either like you can cut it left, you can cut it right, if you want to get like a really good directional pop out of it. Those are just options. A bit awkward there, but still okay. It's an okay touch here. Don't mind that. I do mind this. This leads to immediate possession change. What I would do is I would try to be a little bit more patient here. I don't mind this touch. It is a bit dangerous, but by trying to get this little bottom touch here, this is typically a low percentage touch unless you get really, really good timing. And the reason why is because like as you're trying to like push the ball here, what's going to happen is like as you're rolling off the curve here, if you don't get the really early flip to it, it's going to pop away. And this is why the opponent with full boost was able to instantly just single jump chow. You see how like they effectively use single jump chows? Just pop, boom, and then immediately go for a shot. And you're completely out of the play with no recovery. What you can do instead is you can try to like, I don't mind this touch, but here, like you want to just fake and go down and then place yourself for a 50. Because at this point, like you're low boost and you do not want to use your boost. You're on 27 boost. Don't use any boost. Keep your boost as low as possible, like not as low as possible, but keep your boost usage as low as possible in this play, because you're in your corner and it's a low percentage play for your opponent to try to attack. But because you ended up giving possession away, it went from low to high percentage immediately, because all they had to do was just simply play the counter touch, and that was good. Opponent goes for what looked like a slight delay there. It's not bad. I don't mind the way you defend. This is dangerous. Going backwards here, especially like off momentum here, is dangerous. Yeah, because it leads to a very large amount of like awkwardness to the play. It's a good save. Nice. I like that. I like that movement. That's not bad at all. You missed a pad there with this position, so it just makes it a little lower boost. And because of that, you ended up getting a lot of separation from the play, trying to gather enough boost to try to counter. So you see how like you hesitated for like a brief moment? There was a moment where you kind of let like you wiggled a little bit. If you just went like pad, and or even like pad, slow down, and try to keep the distance controlled to a little bit. You don't have to let the opponent know you're low boost, but by keeping yourself semi-close to the ball, what you're doing is essentially being pressed to the play. If you just like basically like fuck off and go get boost, the opponent instantly knows, oh, he's low boost, I have space now. Okay, I can do whatever I want. And you see how because of that, look how much space the opponent just had. whole half field's like space, and that gives him the ability to play for the 50 here, go for a gentle flick here, and then finish the ball with the last touch here. So that's why the play went the way it did. It's just that's a small, I would say it's an adjustment of positioning and a slight adjustment to awareness. Good patience. I like that patience. I don't mind that. That's still okay. That's just a good shot. That's a top shot, honestly. That's just a good shot. Even if you got the 50 here, you would have 50'd it into him, which would have been not favorable. I would say, honestly, here, brief moment here, you could just bang it. You could do a diagonal flip, like a right side diagonal flip like that. You could also do a speed flip if you want, and then use your 50 boost, recover towards the back left boost here, and now you have boost to work with. You have full boost, and you have a breakaway touch here. That gives you an opportunity, and you could have made that game 4-3, or in your case 3-4 technically. And all you'd have to do is now try to play off the next win here. Excuse me. In fairness, it is a hard angle, and the opponent scores a good shot here. It's just, in fairness, it's a good shot. But that's how you would counter it in that play. There's a very, very small, brief moment where that could have worked. Nice. Good recovery. Good placement. I like that. That was well done. I don't mind the air dribble bump. It's understandable. I think it's just because of the lack of time. Just you came in rushing this, so you were off axis a little bit. If you boosted and instead of boosting down, you just stayed like in that like horizontal axis of movement, and you just kept going like that. You actually would have collected his car, and that would have potentially gone in. Let me see. Watching ball here. So from this position. That last touch you got actually would have, yeah, it would have brought the ball completely off axis because it was just to the left of post there. But if you were able to like get a touch that was a little bit, this comes from the first touch. Really, this starts with this touch coming off the ground here. I understand again the need for going fast here. There's no time on the clock, so it's natural you want to speed it up. Totally understand there. It's hard in that position, but remember, like being in this position, losing this particular match. That comes from just certain, like, I would just say adjustments, really, that could be made here positionally. That would just give you a little bit better odds in some of these plays. Really, it's about thinking high percentage in certain positions, and this is where, like, that adjustment would allow you to improve that position just a little bit more. That being said, if you would like to have your games reviewed in these live videos here, go ahead and go into my Discord and go all the way down to the Rocket League session. You will see the upload replay files section. See that channel there? Post your replays inside that channel, and then let me know a little bit about your game, if it's a 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, and I will be happy to do reviews. Now, obviously, while I'm more specialized in 1v1s, I still am able to understand concepts and have played enough 2s and 3s to understand rotations and movement. The only difference in 1s, 2s, and 3s really is just the fact there's more people on the field, more boost gets taken, and that rotations are just different. But mechanics and decision making and little adjustments here for the most part are very much linear, and they're very much like parallel to each other. Thank you so much for watching this video though. I'd like to ask you to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Speed the Man out.